If you've ever asked yourself why you may want or need life insurance, or what are the pros and cons of having it, today's video is here to answer those questions for you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dawson, and I've been in this industry since I was 17 years old, working with life insurance and annuities. And my goal today is to give you some clarity on why you may want or need life insurance and how it could benefit you and your family. So, number one is to understand that people don't really work off of need. It's not about needing life insurance, it's about wanting it. And what I mean by this is simple. If you're going to buy a new house, chances are you're buying what you want, not necessarily what you need. The same goes for if you're buying a car. You could probably use an old Corolla or an old Civic, but you want something a little bit nicer. And this is perfectly fine. Like, this is human nature, and I do the same thing. I'm not here to criticize, but when it comes to life insurance, we have to look at it the same way on what do you want to have happen in the event that you're not here. And so that brings us to the first point is if you have a family, how much of your income do you want replaced for your family and for how long? So if you're in your 30s and you can work until you're 65 and you're not here to work, how many of those years would you like covered for your family? Because there's only a certain number that insurance companies will give you. You're not allowed to have all the life insurance in the world. You can only have a certain amount. So with that being said, there's a cap on how much life insurance that you can have. And you can find that out by taking your current age and subtracting that age from 65. So if you're 30, take 65 minus 30 equals 35. So around 35 times your gross annual income. And that'll give you a rough idea. Now it varies from company to company, and there's some companies that'll only give you 30 times your annual income as their cap. But that'll give you a rough idea of what you qualify for, and you can work backwards from there. So the next thing I want to talk about is how life insurance can lock in your insurability. This is one of the reasons why you may want to have a policy, whether you think you need it or not. And so how this works is like this. You have a term policy, say it's a 10-year term. What that does for you is throughout those 10 years, you're paying a premium for a certain death benefit. And that is one of the only benefits of a term policy is you pay a premium and you get a tax-free death benefit to the people you care about. But what it also does is it locks in your insurability so that if you get some kind of a critical or terminal illness that would deem you uninsurable, you can convert that term 10 into permanent whole life insurance. But had you not had that policy, you'd no longer be able to get insurance. So that's one of the reasons why you may want to consider having insurance is to lock in your insurability for a certain amount of time. The next question I like to ask people is, do you have a mortgage? Do you have a car? Do you have any of these items or major purchases that would need to be paid off in the event that you are no longer here? So if you are married and you have kids, do you want to have your house paid off for your wife? Do you want the cars paid off? Life insurance can come in and it can contribute and supplement your income in order to pay off these major items. And so being able to think through this and how your life is structured, using life insurance can be a very big benefit for the person that you love in order to make it easier on them if something happens to you. Now, the next part I want to talk about is life insurance for business owners. And you could argue that whole life insurance should be a bigger part of this conversation, and I would tend to agree. But for today's video, I want to keep this very high level, going over concepts and the more easily understood things. I don't want to confuse you guys with whole life, and I will talk about it more in other videos, but for a business owner, if you have partners in the business, you're going to want to look at cross purchase arrangements, key person insurance, and buy sell agreements. What this means is that if something happens to your business partner or to a key person in your company, having an insurance policy in place will provide you with that benefit so that you can carry on the business and take on their shares. And a lot of people miss this where they don't understand that if they have a business partner or key person, that person should be insured so that if the worst case scenario happens, the business will carry on as it needs to. Now, the other part of this is that there are executive bonuses that you can do with life insurance. So I had this conversation with a client the other day, and what it is this. He owns a company, he has some employees, and he wants to provide a benefit to them. Now there's group 401ks and there's all these different plans that you can do, and a lot of them require a lot of regulatory information and a lot of different fees involved. So I came to him with the idea of an executive bonus plan. And what that is the basically the business buys a whole life policy for the employees. Not for every employee necessarily, but for the key employees and the ones that he wants to benefit. So the business pays for these plans. There's no out of pocket cost for the employee, and they can take this whole life policy if they leave the company or they get fired. Like, it's their policy. But the employer pays for it. They get a tax benefit, and it's a great tax efficient way to use money to benefit your employees. So a lot of people don't think about these things when they're running a business or they're looking at insurance. They look at insurance as, I pay money, I get a death benefit, that's it. And it's true to a degree. For a term policy, it's true, but it can also lock in your insurability, and it provides these tax-free benefits to your family and loved ones if something happens. And it allows you to convert to whole life and permanent insurance as well. So on that note, I want to touch a little bit on permanent and whole life insurance. Now, we're not going to get into the weeds here because there's a lot of different elements to this. There's universal, there's indexed universal life, there's whole life. There's all of these different types of products, and each one works a little bit differently. But I want to touch a little bit on just your basic permanent whole life insurance, your participating whole life insurance. Not universal, just the basic bare bones whole life. And how it works is this. With a term policy, your money is getting paid. Your money is basically, you're paying a premium for a death benefit. With whole life insurance, you're paying for a death benefit and you're paying for cash value. And over time, both your cash value and the death benefit of the policy grow. It's not like a term policy where it stays the exact same. If you get a $500,000 death benefit, it's $500,000 for those 10 years. With a whole life policy, it might be $500,000 when you buy it, but after 20 years, it might be $1 million. So it goes up over time, and that's a key benefit. And when you're getting a whole life policy, you're making a contractual agreement with that company that you pay a premium and the insurance company is going to provide you with these benefits like a permanent death benefit. And it also gives you a cash value where you're making an agreement that that cash value will not go down. They may not pay you a dividend, but their track record of 150 years of dividend payments for certain companies indicates that when you put money into the cash value, you're going to get a dividend every year, and you're going to get consistent growth on that, protected growth, that it's at a tax advantaged rate. And you can utilize that cash value to create your own private banking system, and you can use it for investing, for retirement. You can use it for whatever you need to, and as long as you use it properly, that money is growing tax deferred, and you may not need to pay taxes on it in the future, depending on how you structure the policy. So there's all of these other benefits, including long-term care riders, disability, where the premium's going to be paid for you if you get disabled. And there's, all of these things where it's creditor protected in most states. With whole life insurance, it's its own animal, different to term. And so there's all of these other benefits with whole life that they can be their own video. And they will be, because I'm going to talk about it in more detail. But today's video is just to give you guys an idea of why you might want term insurance, not necessarily why you need it. Because I sit with a lot of people where they tell me they don't need insurance. Okay, cool. You don't need a bigger house. You don't need a bigger and faster car. But why would you want it? And I had term insurance on myself when I was single. I didn't have my fiance at the time. I didn't even have a girlfriend, but I still had $500,000 of term on myself because I knew that if something happened to me, I wouldn't be able to get insurance. So having that in place allowed me to convert it to permanent and have protection in the case that I needed it. So at the end of the day, I'm not telling you guys what to do. This is financial education, not advice. I work with people on a daily basis in the life insurance industry, so this is coming from my experience, and I firmly believe that life insurance is one of the key foundational products and strategies to a financial plan, and this is why you might want to consider having it. So hopefully this video helped you guys out to understand it a little bit better. If there's anything I didn't cover or any questions you might have, please leave them in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer them, and I'd be happy to make a video on anything that you might want to know. So let me know in the comments, and have a great day, guys.